Do you want to know how to become the best player in the world at Apex Legends? Well, I went through the recent ALGS tournament and analysed every player and every team's mouse or controller choices, and the results I found could have severe consequences for everyone. The controller versus mouse and keyboard debate is one of the most controversial topics, along with ones such as, should you keep ketchup in the fridge or the cupboard, or should you stand up or sit down when wiping? So how many players at ALGS were using a mouse, and which mouse did they use? How many players were playing on controller, and were you more likely to win if you were playing with one? Let's go through all of that and more
right now.
I can now reveal that 60.3% of players at the event were using mouse and keyboard, leaving 39.7% on controllers. First, let's start off with the rodents. There were 73 mouse users at the event, but which ones were the most popular? Before we get to that, there's some amazing differences that I found in comparison to other games that I've analysed, such as Valorant or CSGO. Both of those games' professional scenes are heavily dominated by the Logitech G Pro Superlight, with some professional tournaments featuring those games having up to 50% of all players attending using that mouse. The remaining significant manufacturer share, so not individual models, go to Razer, Zowie and Vaxi. At ALGS, the Superlight's percentage share of players actually goes down to 38.9%, with Logitech's total share being 44.7%. Now I want you to guess the next 3 biggest brands that featured. Leave a comment in the box below, don't forget to pause the video and no cheating. And now let's see if you're right. In second is Razer, who had a 23.8% share, and then third is a tie between Lamzu and Final Mouse. Incredibly, none of the players there was using a Zowie mouse at all. Not one person. And Zowie is like the esport brand. From what I could tell, they were all using Zowie monitors. But not one person was using one of their mice. There is a reason for that, but let's go through the other interesting and fun facts and then I'll explain why. For Razer, the Death Adder V3 Pro was the most popular mouse of theirs in CSGO and Valorant, with the other mouse of theirs, the Viper V2 Pro, being hardly used at all. But at ALGS, there were more Viper V2 Pro users than Death Adder users. There were also 2 Razer Viper Mini users, and just one person was using the Razer Viper Signature Edition, just using a $280 mouse at a tournament. Why not? The other pretty amazing stat is that Lamzu, who are just a year old and haven't released anything outside of the Atlantis model, apart from a mini version and a few updated ones, is tied for the 3rd most popular brand. And Final Mouse share the same numbers as Lamzu. From what I could tell as well, every player was using a version of the Starlight mouse. And it'll be interesting to see how Final Mouse's player share increases when they release their new Ultralight X, which is apparently going to be one of their first mice that's going to be in constant which apparently is going to be one of their first mice that will be in constant production. So everyone should be able to get one and you don't have to buy them from scalpers at an inflated price. But it's interesting how massively different it is from the tactical shooters of CSGO and Valorant. Before I explain why that is, another insane bit of information I came across was that in CSGO and Valorant, around a quarter of all mice are of an ergonomic design. At ALGS, there were just 5 ergonomic mice out of 73. So why is there such a big difference in mice used? I mean, why is there no Zowie mice at all? Apex Legends is a faster game that requires a completely different aim style. The mice need to be lightweight as you're making a lot more sweeping movements horizontally and vertically. Your opponents can change directions so fast and so often that you can oftentimes be moving your mouse around constantly. So something that is lightweight and allows these movements to be performed easily is a must. Something that weighs over 70 grams might not seem heavy, but after multiple games of throwing your mouse around the mousepad like you're performing some satanic ritual, is going to eventually cause a bit of fatigue whether you like it or not, which is why we won't see any Zowie mice on this list, with their weight often being over 75 grams. For further nerdage, In Valorant, the average weight of a mouse was 66.4 grams. In CSGO, it's 67.2 grams. And for Apex Legends at the ALGS event, it was 60.9 grams. Before we wrap up the mouse users, there are some cameo appearances from some mice that only featured once, and they are... I've got a name pronunciation guide here to help you with some complicated names. We have Obli from Realize using the Extrafy M8, Juicner from Ganbare, well, it doesn't tell me how to pronounce the team names. Ganbare Otusan using the Extrafy M4. Reps from TSM using the G305. Gnask from Pioneers using a Ninjutsu Sora. Feiju from MDY White using the Endgame Gear XM2 Wireless Essentials. F-Chan from Pulverex using the Viper Mini Signature Edition. And lastly, and possibly one of the biggest surprises I've seen, is, hopefully I get this right, Skytele Kakez using a 110 gram G903 Lightspeed, which came out in 2017. So now we get to controller. But sadly, almost every single player that was using a controller sat with their hands underneath their desk, so it was very hard to identify them. I mean, what are you hiding? So whatever information we find will be uploaded on our website at diamondlobby.com. But what I can tell you is you are more likely to win with a controller. There were 3 all-controller teams at the event: FaZe Clan, LG Shivas, and FC Destroy. They finished 5th, 12th, and 13th. There were 8 mouse and keyboard teams, and they all finished below the all-controller teams, with the highest placement being 100 Thieves, who finished 14th. But that's not all. The winners of the event, Dark Zero, have 2 controller players and 1 mouse and keyboard. Now if we go for the teams that placed top 5, Dark Zero, TSM, Oxygen Esports, Xset, and FaZe Clan, out of the 15 players, just 5 of them were using a mouse and keyboard. There were 3 Logitech Superlight users, 1 G305 user, and a Lamzu Atlantis. But let's take a look at the kill totals for the event. At number 1 is Effect from Alliance, who's using a controller. At number 2 is Imperial Hal, who's also using a controller. At number 3 is another controller player. 4th? Oh god, it's all controllers. 5? Oh. Wait, let me go back up one. This isn't contributing to the rage bait that I'm trying to create here. With this evidence provided, it is safe to say that you are more likely to win if you are playing with a controller. So whilst you guys are arguing amongst yourselves, please remember, keep it civil and no personal insults. And when you're finally cooled off, there's a video on screen now that you might want to watch to help you calm down.